The government is no longer on track to meet its third emissions budget, which runs from 2031 to 2035. Projections released at the end of last year based on Labour's policies showed the country hitting its first three emissions budgets. But the new government has got rid of many of those climate policies, and that means the third budget looks set to be missed by 17 million tonnes of emissions. How much is that? Well, it's 25% of New Zealand's annual emissions. The draft emissions reduction plan released today makes it clear the government won't be slashing emissions at the source, but will be opting to plant more pine trees. Other policies include setting a target for 10,000 electric vehicle chargers by 2030 and investing in improving public transport in Auckland and opening the City Rail link. Laura Tupou has more.
Climate Change Minister Simon Watts has a plan.
That is on track in order to meet both the emission budget 1 and emissions budget 2.
But notably not our third budget, which covers 2031 to 2035. By the government's own projections, we will be 17 megatonnes over budget.
This is a government that's been in play for 8 months. My primary focus is to ensure that we've got a clear plan to meet those two immediate targets.
Frankly, it's embarrassing.
One lever the government is ramping up is the planting of pines and potentially native trees to offset emissions.
You can't plant your way out of the climate crisis, and it's gutting to see that the government is refusing to engage in what all of the experts are telling us is the best way to deal with the climate crisis, that is to stop pollution at its source, instead relying on a heck of a lot of wishful thinking.
But with agriculture as our prime emitter, the minister says there'll be investment in the research and development of technology solutions to reduce emissions on farms.
This government is putting a lot of eggs in the basket of technological fixes that aren't guaranteed, that haven't been proven yet, and that's a big gamble when people are literally suffering the consequences of climate change now.
One of the features and dynamics, I guess, of New Zealand farmers is that they're already very emissions efficient, and so they're limited in that sense as to what additional reductions they could make overall, barring the arrival of some kind of new technology.
The consultation document sees farmers excluded from the emissions trading scheme until 2030, as National promised in its election campaign.
It was first proposed that agriculture should be in the emissions trading scheme around 20 years ago, so it's long past time that agriculture should be paying for its climate pollution.
But this is a consultation document. The public have 6 weeks to provide feedback.
We've been very clear in our consultation document that we're undertaking a net-based strategy. It's net zero by 2050.
But are we on track?
Currently, the forecasting shows us that we're 3 megatonne off in terms of achieving that.
Watts says there are aspects out of the government's control. Tiwai Point aluminium smelter staying open, for example, changes the numbers, responsible for 5 megatonnes over 5 years.
There's a lot of water to go under the bridge between now and then, and I can tell you what, this government is committed to achieving those targets, and we'll do what we need to do.
Because no one is immune to the consequences of a warming planet.